Okay, have you been sitting on the sidelines, waiting for the sky to fall, unsure what's happening with interest rates, and you would love to sell, or maybe you'd like to buy your next home, and you just really aren't sure what to do? This episode is packed with all the things that are happening in the Midwest and across the country in real estate and mortgages, and we're here to keep you informed. So let's dive in.
You're listening to the Girl, Get Your Face Off a Bus Bench podcast, where we invite you to check your ego at the app, grab a cup of coffee, and get ready to dive into all things real estate marketing, social media, friendship, hardship, love, money mindset, and all the things that celebrate you as a badass boss babe.
We're here to encourage you, show up for you, give you a loving kick in the pants when you need it most, and be your soft place to land on the hardest of days. So pull up a seat at our table and get ready to be inspired and start living your best life by design.
Welcome to the Girl, Get Your Face Off a Bus Bench podcast. We are so excited you're here.
Okay, girls, let's dive in. All right, bus bench babes. Fall is right around the corner, and you know what that means. Real estate market is shifting, things are changing, and we're going to talk all about what you need to know for the real estate market here in fall of 2023. And guess what? I have a special guest with me here today. I have Annie Grayson, who is a longtime friend, and she is the listing manager on the Danny Buyer real estate team in Kansas City. So welcome, Annie.
Thank you. I'm not sure how you wrangled me into doing this, but here I
am. Annie was in town. I thought, yeah, you're in real estate. Like, we're in a very similar market. Let's jump on and do this podcast together. Well, Annie, thanks for being here. Tell us a little bit about yourself. When you're not slinging real estate, what are you doing?
So a lot like you, I love to travel. I love to host people in my home. My husband and I love to have our family and friends over. Always loving to get out and travel, try new restaurants. I've got 2 new puppies, so they're kind of the light of my life right now.
Well, yeah. So Annie and I have known each other for years and years. We go way back to the mortgage business days. And when I first moved home from Tampa, I worked for my family's mortgage company, and we were mortgage brokers. And one of the lenders we worked with was First Horizon, which is based out of Tennessee, but they had a huge presence in Kansas City. Mm-hmm. And Annie worked for them. And that's how we met, like originally like via fax and emails.
Yep.
And then you got a position to move you to Minnesota. And we felt like we already knew each other. And then that was like 21-ish, something years ago.
Lifetime ago.
Yeah. So Annie's been in town over the weekend, and we've done a lot of fun girl stuff and kind of went to some of our old haunts, and now we're doing a podcast.
Yeah. Just, what you do on a Sunday.
So let's talk about the fall real estate market. What's your market been like in the Kansas City market?
Well, I think very similar to here, this last year has just been, the word I always use is just weird, right? Like there's just been this weird shift, and we still have a lot of people in this mindset about the fear of rates and rates being so much higher than they were. One thing that we really talk to our clients a lot about right now, especially people purchasing homes, is you're purchasing a home that you love, not a rate that you love, right? Like rates, we are going to see rate adjustments. Beth's going to talk about that. We are going to see rates come back down again, but the days of 2% and 3% are long gone, and you can refinance very easy. Work with a great lender who can put you in a position to keep you informed on, when rates come back down. Find the home that you love and do a refinance later. So
absolutely.
August is always kind of the slow time for us. I don't know if it's here too.
I think when people are getting ready to go back to school, things start to get a little weird depending on the price point.
Trying to take vacations before school starts back up. People are trying to get moved into new jobs before school starts, or just try to be settled before that. So, but all in all, I mean, we're still very busy in Kansas City. It's just different. It just looks a little bit different. We're working a little bit harder with buyers to find homes, still with a shortage of inventory, but there's still plenty of real estate happening.
Yeah, I feel the same here. We have some different kind of listings currently. And so it's like I've had to kind of retrain my brain that I'm like, okay, normally we just sell like single family kind of in competitive price points. So now we have like a commercial listing and some multifamily and stuff like that. That's just different. And so not that they're not selling, it's like it's just different because they're selling at a different pace than a single family. And so it's more of me like retraining my brain so then I'm not coming across as like hysterical to the client, like, oh, the houses aren't flying off the market. Well, this type of property doesn't fly off the market.
Yeah. And it's different marketing strategy, and it's a different set of buyers looking at those properties that you have to figure out how to appeal to.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, so it's pushing me out of my comfort zone, I guess, is the moral of that story, which is great. Yeah, it's super good. Well, so here's what's happening for the fall. Like, there's a bunch of stuff. I pulled a bunch of stats and data from all over. You know, I like nerd out on all this stuff. And basically, like Annie said, interest rates are up. But I went to lunch with one of my lenders this last week, and he said it doesn't seem to be causing buyers not to buy. He goes, I will quote buyers a 7% interest rate. And he goes, they don't even flinch. So I'm sure you saw this in Kansas City, like last June when interest rates, I came back from my world like trip in Africa and interest rates had all changed. And I'm like, oh my God, now what? And all the buyers had like pumped the brakes because they're all freaking out. And then when everyone realized, oh, this is our new normal. Okay, we're fine. Now we're just going to get back to it. And we'll just refinance whenever we can. Yeah.
And I think our market's been a little bit slower to come back around to that because it is still a major objection that we face with buyers is, gosh, should I just keep waiting? But the bottom line is none of the major experts out there are saying that, at least in our market, that values are going to decrease. No. So today is still the cheapest time to buy the house that you're looking at.
Absolutely.
Next year it will be more. The year after that it'll be more. So, like I said earlier, you fall in love with the house, not the interest rate that's happening right this moment.
Yeah, market is still super competitive here in the Twin Cities. We still overall have a really strong demand. Inventory still remains tight. So one of the things that's really putting pressure on inventory right now is that buyers that bought like during COVID and even like 2018, 2019 had lower interest rates. And so those are the buyers that are like, do I want to sell my home, even though I'm like busting at the seams to buy a bigger house with a higher interest rate because we're going to feel the ouch. And so I think that's affecting interest rates affecting the inventory for sure. Forbes said prices in the Northeast and Midwest have gone up in 2023, but we've seen some declines in the West. And I know from just like some of my Tom Ferry real estate friends that sell out in the West have talked about a lot of price reductions. And we don't have a ton of those here in the Twin Cities yet, assuming that a home is priced really good right out of the gate.
Yeah, and that's definitely the key. In our market, we're seeing that more in the luxury price point that we have to do price drops. But I don't think that that's necessarily a situation that's happening just because of this market. I think that's always kind of been the case. You talk about $10,000. $10,000 on a $100,000 home is a lot different than $10,000 on $1 million home. Right. So when you have to make slight adjustments, and sometimes that's just a strategy to get people re-engaged, to have a search pop up differently for a buyer that maybe it didn't catch their eye if they were looking at, 700 and under and the price was 710, so you just have to, strategize like that too. But yeah, that price point of home is definitely taking longer in our market to sell right now. There's just a smaller buyer pool. The more expensive the homes, it's the fewer buyers you have looking in that price point. So
and it's interesting here. It's really like neighborhood by neighborhood, I feel like. So there's some neighborhoods where that higher price point is kind of sitting and starting to feel a little bit stale. And then there's lots on Lake Minnetonka that are still selling in multiple offers and they're well over $1 million. And I think that buyer in particular isn't really affected by interest rates at all.
Right.
They're many times paying cash for a property and they're like, real estate's a safer harbor than maybe the stock market or other investments. And they almost like don't care what the interest rates are doing, it feels like, in certain price points. So it becomes neighborhood by neighborhood, I feel like.
Yeah, and that's lifestyle here is so much different. We don't have the luxury of the lakes everywhere.
Yeah.
In Kansas City, we get tornadoes and we get sleet but no ocean or,
big bodies of water.
Yeah. So we don't have it as much of the lifestyle driven part, which I think here you do. Like having a lake home is definitely like a lifestyle type of thing to want to have.
Right. It's huge. So we all know Jerome Powell, the Fed Reserve Commissioner, he's talking about one more rate hike between now and the end of the year. And it looks like inflation is finally getting under control. It seems like these rate hikes are doing what the Fed wants it to do. And then I think we're going to see interest rates come down. Mm-hmm. We saw some great stats. They polled Fannie Mae, MBA, the Mortgage Banker Association, and NAR, the National Association of Realtors. And they're all three of them. So when they average out what their predictions are between now and the end of 2023, the three of those major institutions are saying by the end of Q3, we should expect interest rates to be averaging about 6.63%. And by the end of the year, 6.27. So like 6.25, which is 3/4 of a point lower than we currently are today. So that would be huge. And I am literally going to go die on this hill. The minute the rate starts coming down dramatically, that sect of buyers that have been sitting on the fence waiting for the sky to fall are going to jump back into the game, and house prices are going to continue to go up even more. Yeah, we're going to see multiple offers again.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because buyer demand will continue to increase.
Right. And we still don't have enough homes to sell.
Yep.
Yeah. So overall, what we have seen so far this year, purchase applications are up, but they're still down about 20% from this time last year. So, interest rates are affecting things, but maybe not as much as people were thinking that they were going to. And I still talk to buyers all the time. They're like, we're waiting for the market to crash. And I'm like, well, that's interesting. Tell me a little bit more about that. Like what data are you looking at that like kind of supports this theory with, I'm always like wanting to learn more, and tell me more about that. And it's usually not much data that they have to go on, but it's interesting when people think the sky's going to fall. Annie and I lived through the mortgage crash of 07, 08. We've got a lot of war stories that we could tell about that.
The other thing is what happens in our market is we have to remind people to watch what's happening in Kansas City.
Yeah.
If you watch what's happening in California, like you just talked about, West Coast home prices are down.
Nothing to do with the Midwest.
Yeah, it is. It's not at all indicative of what is happening here.
Yeah.
So don't let the big news outlet be the person that's dictating how you feel the market is going.
Right.
Trust your local real estate expert.
Yeah.
Beth Peterson, Rand.
And in Kansas City,
Danny Buyer Real Estate.
Danny Buyer Real Estate. New home sales, I think that is going to be, it's been a big niche, but our team has been pushing that specifically. And what I'm loving about the new home sales right now is that a lot of builders are getting away from like actually just like you go in and you pick out a lot and build. They're building way more spec homes. All of the big national production builders are doing that. The great thing is that you have no competition. So you don't have multiple offers. Once you go in and put kind of a deposit check down, and it's usually like under 10 grand, they'll take the house off the market. So you're not even seeing it on MLS number anymore. You can potentially have your new purchase contingent upon the sale of your current home, which gives you a lot more flexibility. We have a lot of builders in town that are offering like $10,000, $15,000 in closing costs. Plus they have great deals with their in-house lenders that if you use their in-house lender, they have special promotional interest rates. One of them I saw a couple days ago was 5.75 on a conventional loan.
Wow.
A 30-year fixed conventional loan plus an additional $10,000 in closing costs. And you can be in a home in like 30, 45 days. So there's a lot of really awesome things happening in new construction that I think a lot of buyers are sort of forgetting to think about, that really could be your ace in the sleeve, your ace up your sleeve. We currently in the Twin Cities, we have half the amount of inventory of homes for sale than what we did in 2019. So I literally remember sitting at Tom Ferry conference, I don't know, 2018, 2019, they said, we have an inventory crisis. It's the lowest inventory we've ever seen. And it's going to take 5 years for us to like regain the inventory to get back to like a normal balanced market. Well, things have only gotten worse. We haven't gotten better. We haven't gained any traction in that 5 years that they're quoting. So I don't know when we'll ever get back to a balanced market. I mean, it's not in the foreseeable future, not in the Midwest anyways.
No, for us either. Yeah, it'll take a long time, right? Like 6 months is a balanced market, 6 months of inventory.
What do you guys have?
Don't quote me, but I would guess that right now we're around one to maybe a month to 1.2 months of supply. Okay. And there were points during when this listing inventory shortage was really bad where it was 2 weeks of inventory, which is insane.
Yeah. For us, it's like neighborhood by neighborhood. I would say on the Twin Cities as a whole, we have under 2%, but there are some neighborhoods and some parts of town that have like 0.6 months and 0.7 months. So considerably less than a month's worth of inventory. But I'm like, anytime, I mean, we're not even anywhere near 5 to 6 months worth of inventory to get it to a balanced market. So I don't know that things are the sky is not going to be crashing. It's not going to be like last time. It felt like it was all of a sudden when you and I were in the mortgage business back in the day, but it wasn't. It was like a slow burn. We could see it. We didn't want to see it.
Right. There were indicators.
There were plenty of indicators that I think a lot of us were just choosing to ignore because we were talking about this weekend when we were here. We're like, oh yeah, I worked for my aunt and uncle who are very conservative people. And my aunt just kept telling my cousin and I, who were loan officers for them, and they said, start saving money, girls, for a rainy day. This is not always going to be like this. And we were like, she has no idea what she's talking about. And, like you drove a schwanky or what'd you drive? You drove a Lincoln Navigator. I drove a BMW. Like we thought, and we were like in our you were in your 20s. I was in my early 30s. We thought we were invincible, like total ballers. It would never end. It was never going to end. And then all of a sudden it did. And we're like, oh my God.
Now what do I do with the rest of my life?
Now what are we going to do? So fun fact, Annie and I lived in Puerto Rico. I'm like, I'm moving abroad. Annie's like, I'm coming too. So
what else am I going to do?
Yeah, we were tossing a coin between Panama and Puerto Rico. We never even made it to Panama to rule that out. We just ruled that one out. Annie went to culinary school.
It did. Well, in Puerto Rico was logistically a lot easier because it's part of the U.S. You don't have to have work visas or anything like
cell
that.
Phones work, dollar works. Yeah, so we literally like sold all of our worldly possessions and we moved to Puerto Rico. And we were both like super tan and we got really skinny and we just like hung out. It was awesome.
Again, it was like, this will last forever, which also didn't.
No. And we're like, are we going to be single for the rest of our lives? We should probably move back to the mainland and find some people to settle down with. So we did that. Another trend that we're seeing around the country is that because so many buyers can work from home nowadays, is that buyers are buying homes in other parts of the country that might be more affordable than where they currently live. So there was like some little blessings and little nuggets of goodness that came out of COVID is that there's plenty of people that have way better quality of life now that they can work from home and they're not stuck doing like these ridiculous commutes. You can be at home and throw a load of laundry in and make dinner and regain 2 or 3 hours back in your day, not having to drive to work every day. But then a lot of people are like, I don't have to live in Seattle or New York City anymore. I can live literally anywhere.
Yeah.
We had some clients get referred to me from an awesome referral partner out in Washington, like upstate Washington. And she said, I have some clients. They're moving to Minnesota. And I'm like, really? Usually I'm referring people to you. Why are you referring to people to me? And she's like, they are excited. They want better temperatures and they want like better quality of life and like access to like outdoorsy stuff but still have like culture and art fairs and that sort of thing. The wife is an artist and the husband's an HVAC. So we have, plethora of like really awesome HVAC jobs here. And she has access to be able to like be an artist. And she said, in fact, she thinks it's my lender and I went to dinner with them last Saturday. It was really fun. And she said, I think it's going to save me money because now I don't have to get from the West Coast to art festivals all over kind of like the Midwest, which really kind of cater to her art and her craft. So she's like, if I'm already in the Midwest, this is going to save me a lot of money on transportation and lodging and that sort of thing when I do the art festival circuit in the summer. I'm like, okay, that's genius. And they said,
And the cost of living difference.
Cost of living is so much cheaper. And they said they were looking in their budget, and it was a piece of land with a cabin that wasn't even inhabitable. And they were like, no, we got to look at another option here. And the one thing that they said, like with global warming, is they said Washington is getting so much hotter.
Oh,
like Washington State. And like most buildings don't have air conditioning. And so they said you're living in a house and then you have stretches where it's like 90 and 100 degrees. And they said we grew up and it was like in the 70s and 80s in the summer. And so like you're just roasting all the time. And so like we're super excited for winter. And I'm like, okay.
Are you though?
Yeah. Just wait, guys.
I'm going to ask you that in January.
Right. But it was just really interesting to see, like they are just able to pack up their entire lives and their kitty cat and move here. And they're super excited. Parents have already come out and visited them. And so now we're going to start looking for a house in 2024. And they're just kind of like getting the lay of the land and getting their feet wet about like all the things Minnesota has to offer.
Yeah.
So,
where you want to settle, like what part of the city suits you.
Yeah. And make good money and have your dollar go further than what it does in Washington. So yeah, why not? So what are you guys expecting for the fall market? Do you have a lot of listings? Like people are like, we're going to just do things in the fall, or what is that looking like for you guys?
Yeah. Like we talked about earlier, August, people tend to just kind of be holding off a little bit while they're getting life in order. But we have really stayed pretty steady. So, yeah, I think we'll see it pick back up here as we head into the fall, because now people are going to be relocating before the start of the year, right? We have a lot of big corporations in Kansas City, new corporations, the Meta hub, like for...
is that based there? I did not know.
Yeah. So we have a lot of big corporations, and when people relocate, they usually start at the first of the year. So we usually see people start moving in, right? Like December, I think maybe 2 years ago was like our biggest month.
That's awesome.
Ever, which isn't typically normal.
Yeah.
But when people are relocating and a job starting in January, they want to come and they want to get settled. So I think we'll start seeing that pick up for buyers too, but even people that are relocating for other jobs.
Yeah.
Creates more listings too.
That's awesome. Yeah, we have a lot of sellers that we've been talking to that are just starting to, like, oh, now we're wrapping up summer and we're getting our homes ready. So we have a handful of listings coming on here in the next couple of weeks that I'm really excited about. We have a really awesome mid-century modern, hint, hint. That's always like our biggest. If I could sell all the mid-century moderns in the Twin Cities, it would make me so happy. And I have so many agents reach out. They're like, do you have any more of these coming out? I'm like, I wish. But yeah, we have a really awesome one coming on, hint, hint. And my flip's going to be done. Thank God. Yeah, so my flip's going to be back on the market. So that'll be fun to get that project wrapped up. But yeah, I think the market in this fall is going to be really strong. Something that I always tell buyers, and if it's a realtor listening to this episode, this is something that you should always be sharing with your buyers and sellers, is that you can never start the real estate conversation too soon. Because you never know, a lot of times people start thinking about it and they're like, oh, well, we're not quite ready. Well, that timing is your timing. It's not my timing. I'm like, it needs to be all about you, but you can never start planning for that too soon, because we have market predictions that you don't have that maybe could affect your timing a little bit. Yeah. And if it is next year, there's always those things that you need to do to prep your home for sale, and maybe things you need to do to get your credit fixed or repaired or better than what it currently is, so you can get a better interest rate or a more competitive interest rate.
Not only that, but what happens if you have a search set up online and the house of your dreams pops up and you're like, I need this home. Are you at all prepared? Right? Have you started having the financial conversations to make sure that you're in the best position to get, a good interest rate, the best interest rate possible in the current market? Because you don't want to let that pass you by just because you're like, maybe I'm not quite ready.
Right. Yeah.
That home won't be on the market long.
No, you know that.
Yeah.
You saw a house pop up in Kansas City and you're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
If I'd seen this house like 3 days earlier, your husband was probably like, thank God you didn't see it 3 days earlier. I'd be like packing my golf clubs right now and I'd be moving against my will.
Yes.
No, it's occupational hazard for us for sure. God. So yeah, you can never start having that conversation too soon. So reach out to, if you're in the Twin Cities, obviously reach out to our team. We'd love to work with you. And we have access to incredible agents all over the country that we would love to introduce you to. And awesome agents always have contacts for incredible lenders. So keep that in mind before you just walk into your local, big box lender and just start spilling your guts about your finances. Not all lenders are created equal, as we know. All real estate agents are not created equal either.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, we give you a little snippet of what's happening and what you can expect in this fall market. Hopefully, we're going to see some relief with interest rates, which hopefully will give us some relief with inventory. And the sky is not falling, as I continue to say with all these podcast episodes. But if you ever have questions, please reach out. Would love to have a conversation with you. Or if you're local, would love to grab some coffee and talk all things real estate. So until next time, bus bench babes, keep your face off a bus bench and keep being the badass boss babes that you are.
Okay, girls, are you feeling as inspired as we are? We're over here cheering you on because you just finished another episode of the Girl, Get Your Face Off a Bus Bench podcast.
If you want more, head over to girlgetyourfaceoffabusbench.com for show notes and more episodes. And don't forget to subscribe and leave us a 5-star review. They mean the world to us, and they're what keep us going.
Girl, thanks for being here.